It's a strange kind of ache. The moment your child, the one you fed, taught to ride a bike, stayed up worrying about when they missed curfew, suddenly looks you in the eye and says, "I don't agree with you." Not about something small like how to fold towels or what movie to watch, but about the big stuff. Parenting, religion, politics, money, even how you're living your own life now. And you can feel that quiet wall rising between you. Not anger, necessarily. Just distance. Cold, confusing distance. You sit there wondering, when did things shift? When did this little one become someone who questions your decisions, your views, maybe even your values? And more importantly, how do you respond without making things worse? That's what we're going to talk about. How to handle disagreement with your adult children without shutting down, lashing out, or feeling like you've lost your place in their world. Because your relationship doesn't have to suffer just because you don't see eye to eye. And it certainly doesn't have to end in silence or guilt. There's a way through it, one that keeps your dignity intact while leaving space for their independence too. Let's begin with number 1. Pause before reacting. When your child disagrees with you, especially about something close to your heart, your first instinct might be to correct them, defend your stance, or even take it personally. That's natural. After all, you've lived longer, seen more, and learned things they haven't yet. But jumping in too quickly can turn a simple conversation into a full-blown argument. So, instead of reacting right away, take a breath. Literally. Give yourself a moment to reflect on what they said. This isn't about being passive, it's about being strategic. When we pause, we give ourselves space to respond with clarity instead of emotion. You might say something like, "That's an interesting perspective," or even, "Let me think about that." These kinds of responses show that you're engaged, not dismissive, and that opens the door for a real dialogue instead of a power struggle. Think about a time when someone really listened to you, even when they didn't agree. How did that feel? Empowering, right? That's the gift you can give your children too. It doesn't mean you agree. It just means you respect them enough to hear them out. And sometimes, in that quiet pause, you may even discover you're both closer in your views than you thought. Now let's talk about number 2. Focus on understanding, not winning. This one is so important. As parents, we're used to guiding our children, teaching them, helping them see the right path. But when they become adults, your role shifts. You're no longer the captain steering the ship, you're more like a lighthouse on the shore. You can offer direction, but they have to decide their route. So when a disagreement comes up, try to move from, "I need them to understand me," to, "I want to understand them too." Ask questions that invite conversation instead of shutting it down. For example, "What makes you feel that way?" Or, "Can you tell me more about why you see it like that?" It's not always easy, especially if what they're saying feels like a rejection of your values or the way you raised them. But more often than not, their disagreement isn't about you at all. It's about their own journey, their experiences, their perspective. When you show genuine interest in how they arrived at their opinion, you build trust. And trust is the bridge that keeps your relationship strong, even when you stand on opposite sides. You might be thinking, "But what if they're wrong?" And that's fair. But here's the thing, trying to prove them wrong rarely changes their mind. It just makes them dig in deeper. Understanding, on the other hand, creates space. And in that space, real change, real connection, can begin. I remember a woman I spoke with recently. She's in her early 70s, and her daughter had made a big life decision she didn't agree with. Something that went against the way she was raised. At first, the mother felt heartbroken, even betrayed. But instead of fighting it, she sat down with her daughter and asked, "Can you help me understand why this matters so much to you?" That simple question led to hours of conversation, and while she still didn't agree, she understood. And her daughter walked away feeling loved, not judged. That's the power of focusing on understanding, not winning. Now that we've explored how pausing before reacting and seeking to understand rather than win can shift the entire dynamic of your relationship, let's continue this journey. Because as challenging as these moments can be, they're also opportunities to grow, to reconnect, and to build a new kind of relationship with your children. One built on mutual respect, even when the views don't always align. There's something powerful about choosing connection over control. And when it comes to our adult children, That choice can make all the difference. It's not easy watching the people we raise take paths we wouldn't have chosen, or express beliefs that seem to clash with everything we tried to instill in them. But once we've learned to pause before reacting and focus on understanding rather than winning, we create a foundation for the relationship to grow in a whole new direction, one that's rooted in mutual respect rather than authority. Let's keep going with number 3. Pick your battles wisely. Not every disagreement needs to become a deep discussion. Some things are just differences. And the truth is, trying to weigh in on everything your adult children say or do can leave both sides feeling drained and frustrated. That's why one of the most loving things you can do is ask yourself, is this really worth it? Let's say your son and his wife decide not to celebrate certain holidays the way you always have. Or your daughter chooses a different parenting style than the one you used. It might sting, especially if those traditions or choices feel deeply tied to your identity. But before you speak up, pause and reflect. Is this an issue of safety, ethics, or serious consequence? Or is it more about your own preferences and comfort? Choosing not to engage in every disagreement isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It says, I trust you to figure some things out on your own. And that's incredibly empowering for your children. It doesn't mean you have to agree. It just means you're learning to let go of the need to control and choosing peace over pride. Think about how freeing that can be for both of you. The less you react to every little thing, the more meaningful your voice becomes when you do speak up. It's like the difference between a constant background hum and a single, clear bell. When you speak only when it truly matters, they're far more likely to listen. Now let's move to number 4. Express your views with kindness and confidence. When the time comes that you do feel the need to speak up, whether it's about a major decision, a concern for their well-being, or something that genuinely goes against your values, how you express yourself matters just as much as what you say. The goal here isn't to avoid disagreement altogether, but to handle it in a way that doesn't damage your bond. You can be clear without being harsh. You can stand firm without being rigid. And you can share your heart without attacking theirs. Instead of saying something like, "You're making a huge mistake," try, "I see things differently and here's why." That shift in tone opens the door instead of slamming it shut. It invites conversation, not conflict. Sometimes it helps to talk from your own experience. You might say, "When I was in a similar situation, I struggled too, and here's what I learned." This keeps the focus on your perspective without turning it into a lecture. And when you speak with kindness, without sarcasm, without blame, you're far more likely to be heard. A man once told me about a time his daughter made a choice he didn't agree with, something that challenged everything he believed in. He was furious at first, hurt even. But instead of lashing out, he wrote her a letter. A gentle, honest letter. In it, he shared his values, his concerns, and above all, his love. No accusations. No ultimatums. Just truth wrapped in care. And you know what? She didn't agree with him, but she felt his love so deeply that it brought them closer, not further apart. It's a good reminder, your voice doesn't have to be loud to be powerful. When you speak with kindness and confidence, your words carry weight, even if your children don't agree. Which brings us to number 5. Create space for two truths to exist. This might be the hardest of all. As parents, we often see things in terms of right and wrong, safe and risky, smart and foolish. But as our children grow, they start forming their own versions of truth. And those versions don't always match ours. Learning to live with two truths, yours and theirs, can feel unsettling. But it's also incredibly freeing. Because when we accept that there isn't always one right way to see the world, we create room for deeper, more meaningful relationships. Let's say you value hard work and saving money, and your son chooses to travel the world while living paycheck to paycheck. Or maybe you've always believed in traditional values, and your daughter chooses a lifestyle that looks nothing like the one you imagined for her. Those moments can be heartbreaking, but they can also be openings, opportunities to love them exactly as they are, not just as you hoped they'd be. You don't have to give up your beliefs to respect theirs. You don't have to silence your truth to honor theirs. But you can learn to hold both truths side by side. That's where grace lives. In the space where disagreement doesn't equal disconnection. In the space where love gets to be bigger than opinion. One woman once said to me, "I've learned to say, I wouldn't have made that choice, but I love you fiercely." That kind of statement carries so much power. It reminds your child that even when you don't agree, your love is still unconditional. And isn't that what we all want at any age? To be loved without conditions, to be seen without being fixed, to be accepted even when we're misunderstood? Those 5 strategies may not solve every problem overnight, but they lay the groundwork for something better, something more lasting. A relationship that evolves, deepens, and continues to grow even when the opinions differ. Because at the heart of it all, you're not just a parent anymore. You're a guide, a supporter, a witness to their unfolding life. And that's a beautiful, powerful role to play. Sometimes the hardest part isn't the disagreement itself, it's what it stirs up inside. You sit in silence after a phone call, replaying their words over and over. You ask yourself, where did I go wrong? Why do they see things so differently? Why does every conversation feel like a minefield lately? These moments can leave us feeling lost, heartbroken, even helpless. But you're not alone. Many parents over 40, especially in their 50s, 60s, and 70s, find themselves here. Not because they failed, but because the relationship is evolving. And just like we once helped our children grow through their phases, now it's our turn to grow through ours. Let's take a deep breath together and talk about the 5th and final strategy, perhaps the most powerful one yet. Number 5. Learn to let go with love. This doesn't mean giving up. It means accepting that your child is no longer a child. It means recognizing that you can't protect them from every mistake, steer every decision, or convince them to see the world through your eyes. And that's okay. Letting go with love is about releasing control without releasing connection. You can still have influence, but influence isn't about pushing. It's about presence. It's about modeling grace, patience, and understanding, especially when you disagree. When they see you handling conflict without defensiveness, you teach them maturity. When you listen instead of lecture, you show them respect. And when you acknowledge their autonomy, you affirm their worth. This kind of letting go can feel scary, because it's a shift in identity. You may feel like you're no longer needed in the same way. But let me tell you, you are still needed. Just differently. Not as the driver of their life, but as a steady guide on the sidelines. Picture this. Your adult child comes to you, not because they have to, but because they want to. They feel safe being themselves with you. They may not always agree with you, but they know you're in their corner. That kind of relationship doesn't come from control. It comes from trust. And trust grows when we let go of being right and focus instead on being kind, patient, and real. But let's also be honest, letting go can hurt. You might grieve the closeness you once had. You might miss the days when your word was enough, when your advice was gold, when bedtime hugs fixed everything. And now there's distance. Now there are slammed doors, literal or emotional. There are opinions that clash. There are moments where your values feel like they're being rejected. That's a deep kind of grief, and it's valid. But grief can sit beside love. In fact, it often makes love more profound. So don't silence that sadness. Feel it. But don't let it harden you. Let it open you. Let it remind you that this relationship, even with its cracks and aches, is still sacred, still worth tending to. One way to let go with love is to set internal boundaries. Not on them, but on yourself. For example, give yourself permission to stop chasing their approval. You raise them with love and values. Whether they follow those values or not, your worth as a parent isn't defined by their choices. Letting go also means resisting the urge to always respond. If your adult child says something upsetting, ask yourself, do I need to say something right now? Sometimes silence speaks volumes. Sometimes patience gives room for reflection, on both sides. And then there's forgiveness, not just for them, but for yourself. Maybe you said the wrong thing. Maybe you didn't understand what they needed. Maybe you're still carrying guilt over a past argument. Forgive yourself. You're human. You're learning too. Growth doesn't stop at 40 or 60 or even 80. Every time you choose humility over pride, grace over resentment, curiosity over judgment, you're building a bridge. Not every bridge looks the same. Some will span long distances with gaps and delays. Others will feel sturdy and close. But every effort you make, every gentle word, every moment of quiet support, it counts. It matters. Let's also talk about the kind of love that lasts. Unconditional love doesn't mean agreeing all the time. It means holding space for disagreement without shutting the door. It means saying, I may not understand your choices, but I will always love you. Sometimes your child just needs to hear that. Not in a grand speech, not in a teachable moment, but in a quiet pause between conversations. A note in the mail, a check-in text, a smile that says, I see you, I'm here. And just as you're letting go, don't forget to hold on to the parts that still connect you. Maybe it's a shared memory, a silly family tradition, a song, a recipe, a shared laugh over something small. These little threads keep the relationship alive. Don't underestimate them. You can grow together, even from different places. And that's the beauty of parenting adults. You're not shaping a child anymore, you're relating to another adult, which means you get to learn from them too. Be open to hearing their views without immediately defending yours. Let them teach you something. Let them surprise you. And when they open up even a little, treat that vulnerability with care. It's a gift. Now, take a moment. Breathe. Reflect. You've come a long way, not just in this video, but in life. Through sleepless nights, scraped knees, school meetings, heartbreaks, graduations, and now, this season. A season of quiet guidance, emotional strength, and deep, transformative love. Relationships with adult children are not about perfect harmony. They're about respect, growth, and endurance. So if you've ever sat there wondering, am I doing enough? Am I doing it right? Know this, the very fact that you're asking those questions means your heart is in the right place. You're doing better than you think. Now, I'd love to hear from you. How do you navigate disagreements with your grown-up kids? What's worked for you, and what's been tough? Let's support each other in the comments. Because parenting doesn't stop, it just evolves. If this message resonated with you, give it a like, and don't forget to subscribe for more uplifting content like this. We're building a beautiful community here, and there's always a seat at the table for you. Here's to growing, loving, and staying connected, no matter what life throws our way. You've got this.